Good morning, YouTube. This is Chuck Generals. I want to thank you for coming by. And we're going to do a video today on something that's been bothering me for a long time, and it's about pouring metals. I like to pour metals and cast them into molds. I like to sand cast also. So all of these things being... Okay, guys, all things being equaled, I see people doing barefoot and thong type shoes and not doing any safety procedures at all, and sometimes it's going to go bad, and if it goes bad with you, it's going to hurt. Okay, guys, for the propane portion of doing these pours, if you look at my bottle, there's a gauge telling me how much stuff is in the bottle, propane, a regulator, and then there's a needle valve right there. I had my thumb on. That's how I adjust my PSI in the gauge right above my hand. And that'll give me what I need for the whatever metal I'm melting at the time. Alright, guys, so something else I do is make sure that on that 3/4 fitting there going to the bottle that it's tight, and there's the same fitting on the Foundry. Make sure that those are tight so you don't have a propane leak. I just do it every time. Doesn't matter if you've just used it, do that over and over again. And it just something to keep you safe while being around propane. So when you're going to fire this off, close that air valve out there that I just spun and open it just a little bit, turn on the propane just a little bit, and then take your propane small bottle and fire it in there and stand back. Don't put your hand in front of it. Don't do anything like that. So the Foundry itself is insulated and won't appear hot at times, but it is, and you can get burnt severely. So make sure when you're dealing with the Foundry itself that you have on the welding gloves that I show here in a minute, I think. And what we do then inside is that piece of cardboard laying on the floor there I put inside, and that keeps the crucible from sticking, because you don't want it to stick as you're pulling it up out of the Foundry and do a spill in the Foundry or over the side of it or onto the concrete. That is definitely a no-no. Alright, guys, I'm not exactly 100% sure where I'm going here. I know I'm pointing to the Crucible and everything, and my mics went out on me again, but this is where I'm saying that the legs space the Foundry up off the floor, and the lid is laying on Firebrick. The Crucible is on Firebrick, and the ingot molds are on Firebrick. And that keeps you from exploding the concrete, because concrete will hold moisture, and it doesn't matter if it's in the shop or outside or where it's at, it'll pull moisture out of the ground, and you can have an explosion just by the heat, because we're at 760 to 800 degrees Celsius with aluminum. So that's really hot, and if it hits that concrete, it's going to explode. And that cardboard that I showed you earlier, this is where it goes, right in the bottom on that little piece of Firebrick it's in there. And the purpose of that is when the crucible's in and sitting on it, it doesn't stick when you go to pull it out. And if it sticks, it can just dump whatever metal you're melting, and we're melting metals here, so it's high temperature, and it'll cause great grief to you and your shop and anything else that's in its way. So the leather gloves are part of your tool setup, and what you're looking at laying here beside the leather gloves are two tools and some over here. The tongs, I think I'm talking about the tongs here. Like I said, my mic doesn't work, and this is a 4-minute clip, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm saying here. I say I'm showing the Foundry. There's the tongs. That's what I use, and I've used for a few years to pull the Crucible out of the Foundry and set it on the Firebrick. And if it's a new Crucible, that works really good. As Crucibles age, they weaken and get heat cracks, and you can crush the side of it and have a bad spill if you use that style, as I'm showing here. And one thing you want to keep in mind is when you put it in or pull it out, there's a pour spout there, and make sure you set that up right for yourself. But if that breaks, I mean, it's all she wrote. I mean, that's not a good thing in any way, shape, or form. So to keep that in mind, and you can use those, but be very, very careful with it. This pair that's on the floor here, right there, with the two handles, those are amazing. That is the best way to do it. It's safer. You can grab it in different spots. It just slides down between the Foundry and the Crucible itself. Squeeze the handles together just a little bit, lift it out, and keep your feet back out of the way, and set it down on the block, and you're good. You're good to go. And it's easy as that, and you're almost guaranteed not to break the Crucible. Almost. I mean, nothing's 100% doing this, but for the most part. That set of lifters I picked up there and didn't move the camera for you, because we're just going to watch this Foundry with nothing going on here. So, but anyhow, what that's for is to grab it around the middle to do your pours. And it's spring loaded and takes two hands, so you got a good grip on this Crucible lifter. It does a great job. I've never dropped one with those. I've used them for quite a while. But the other lifting tongs, they're the way to go, and so is this lifting setup. That's the ones I like anyway. Get whatever you want. But like I'm showing here now, that Crucible, the way it's sitting, you can see the notch in it. I think I point at it here somewhere along the line. That have no clue what I'm talking about right here. So anyhow, I got my tools out of the way, and there I am back where the tools are. So I'm probably talking about the pours, where the notch is. Well, I'm putting that back in the Foundry Crucible, and the notch is to the left, so I'll pour from right to left when I do the pours. So the other two tools there, I hope I talked about those. Maybe I didn't. It's this is really interesting, guys. I'm trying to figure out what I'm saying, and I'm looking at a Foundry, and I know I'm not talking about the Foundry, but safety is the key issue here. I'm trying to get you safe to do anything you want to do when you're melting metals. Melting metals is the key words. Melting metals. Now that I picked up there is a stir rod. I stick it in the Foundry at the very top to get it hot, so it doesn't cool my metal as I stir. Then I do my stir, put it back down on the floor because it isn't that hot. Do the same with the scoop. Heat it up, then put it down in and pull out the dross. And now you don't throw the dross on the floor. You throw it on the Firebrick or another Firebrick. It doesn't matter. But don't throw it on the floor. Stay away from them concrete explosions. All right, guys, I think that'll be it for some of the tools and the concrete explosion thing. Be back. Okay, guys, this Crucible is fairly new. I think I used it once, so it needs to be seasoned again because it's been sitting for almost a year. And I'm showing you the two temperature guns that are really important to have too. I use this one when everything's cooling down at the end of the pour, so I know when it's safe to touch. And it does Fahrenheit and centigrade both, but it kicks out at about 600 degrees C. So that's not high enough for me. This one goes up to over 2000 degrees C. I can melt gold, I can melt any metal, and this is really important. So you know what temperature you need to be at for your metal to go liquid, and when it's going to gas, at what temperature, because the boiling point and the pour point are different, and it's really important to know that when you're doing brass or zinc especially, where you're getting the fumes, and those fumes are deadly at times, and the more you get, the more deadly it becomes. So we're going to season anyhow. This crucible, we'll probably let it run for between 5 and 10 minutes, and I'll probably put the metal in it and just let it start that way. You can do it that way, or you can do it and put the metal on the top of the foundry and let it heat up by itself. You can do either one. I don't like it on top. Okay guys, now I got the aluminum in the crucible, and that's 6061. I think both pieces, I got 2 or 3 pieces in there. The bigger one there I know is 6061, it's written on it. And what we'll do is we'll start heating it there and go for the 5 or 10 minutes with the lid on, and then we'll get the metal to melt, and then we'll actually do what they call a pour safely, a safe pour. Be back. Okay guys, this is a little bit more of a close-up on the foundry and the crucible with the metal in it, and we're going to be firing off here in just a little bit so we can pre-season that crucible, and just to make it last longer and not crack or anything silly. So there I am firing it off. Now I'll open that air valve. You're seeing the back of my head, but anyhow, I opened the air valve, and that's what makes the flow. I didn't know I was in the way of the camera, but you can see it going now, full bore. And I'll put the lid on here just shortly, and we'll run it at about, that's about 10% to season. So I'll run it at 10% for a while. I don't know what the temperature will be there for sure. But then I'll go to 15, and then I'll go to 20 when we're doing the melt, and then we'll do the pour after that. That way that crucible can get gradually increase in temperature and set itself so it'll handle all that heat no matter what I use it for. But this one will be specifically for aluminum. And I'm showing the top of the foundry again, trying to get you a good shot in there, but I can't quite get it, so I don't know what to tell you. You can see a little bit of red in there just around that top edge. That's it. Okay guys, I'm between 5 and 8 minutes now with the foundry and with the crucible being seasoned. And I check temperature here, and I can't remember what it is, and I don't get it in frame, so it looks like it's 432 or something like that. So anyhow, it's seasoned. I'm getting ready to move it up to 15% on the propane to get my heat up a little bit higher. And you'll see as this goes, the inside, that you can see the red on the upper part of the foundry looking down on it, that's where you'll see the change, and it'll get really red in there. And again, we're trying to do this slowly so we don't have a problem with the crucible while we're trying to pour and have a mishap. And we don't want mishaps, because that usually means you're spilling a molten metal somewhere, and melted metals on you aren't good. Alright guys, so now I've punched it up to 20% on the propane bottle. So that's going to give me my temperatures that I want, that I can get up around 760, because this is aluminum and it isn't a real high temp melt. But you can see in there that everything in there is really red now. From looking down from the top, I got as close as I could without melting the lens on the camera, and it's it's cooking away, and probably 10 minutes in now, and we will probably the first thing we'll do is heat that rod, the stir rod, and then get ready to do a stir. Okay guys, you should be able to see the difference in color now because we've been running at 20% for probably another 5 minutes or so, and that has us melted. I'm sure you can see the infrared was shining on there, that giving us a temperature. And so I'm probably around 780 right now, and getting ready to stir up the dross and take it out with the the lifting spoon. And that's the way it is. And guess what? We'll be back. All right, guys, we are up at melt temp, a little bit over, my 100 degrees over. So I'm guessing it was like 780, 760 right here. And you can tell that's almost white inside there. And it is smoking just a little bit. And I do another type of mask. It's not a full respirator, but I put a full mask on here just to stay out of the smoke. And it worked well. And you can just barely see it fluffing up there once in a while. So. And what we're going to do now, we're going to get ready to do a stir to bring that dross up. And that little clear block there, the short one, that's where we'll put the dross. And I'll preheat this stir rod just so it doesn't cool our pour material, our melted metal. You don't want to cool your melted metal. You just want to stir it to get the dross up off the sides and off the bottom. And this is probably going to be really pure because it is 6061, and it's really good copper. It's really good aluminum. So there, the stir rod's done, and I'll do the spoon after I pull the lid. Grab the wrong handles there, but now you can see what's really hot. That is really hot. So I'll get that spoon in and scrape the sides and scrape the bottom and pull it out and dump it on the little yellow block that is still Firebrick. And there isn't much there, but it's just enough, that could make you a bad pour. But it's really good, and it's good aluminum. Now I'll shut this off. Shut the propane off. I'm sorry, had a little interruption there. And then I'll pull that and set it next to the lid. Now that the lid's off, because that isn't going to cool for a long time. That won't cool for minutes, many minutes after we have pulled everything out and poured. So this is the tongs I was telling you about, that it's really good to have. Look at that lift. That's a perfect lift. Not a wiggle, nothing, and a little bit of ash from the cardboard that was in there. You can still see it glowing in the Foundry. That's actually a really good picture. That might be my thumbnail. So anyhow, now I'm going to grab it with the other tongs. And you just grab it with two hands and squeeze. And I should pour from the right to the left, and I probably don't move the camera. See, that's bad photography right there. I didn't show that till after I poured, and I poured twice. I poured the one mold, and I poured what was left in the Crucible into the other mold, which was just like an ounce. But I think I'll move the camera over here in just a little bit so you can see what I did. Yeah, there we go. Now you can see, now that it's already done, huh? My bad. I won't let that happen again, or I'll try not to. You get focused on what you're doing and you forget about the camera. That's a nice pour in that first one. And I do have an apron on there, the leather apron, the leather boots, the leather gloves. I have them all. So that's the way you want to do it. The Dross is on the Firebrick, the Crucible's on the Firebrick, the lid's on the Firebrick, and so are the molds. So, okay, that was a good pour. We got a little bit more to go here, and we'll get at it. Okay, guys, now it's time to get the pores out of the molds. So we've cast it in two spots. The first one is a good bar, and the second was just the leftover. And I'm using channel locks there to do this. Now that one was cool enough to come out of the mold, just because it's small, and everybody likes to see it foam and blow water around. So I'll dump that in that bucket of water. And there it goes. That's kind of a letdown. Now the bar itself is much more mass, so it doesn't cool and it doesn't want to come out of this mold. And so what you do is you just leave it lay and cool off, then you just turn it over and it comes right out. Now it's probably part way out here. Yeah, just a little bit, see, and I drop it and it didn't break, but it wouldn't have hurt me if it did break. So I'll pick it up and I'll put it back on the Firebrick or somewhere. Yeah, that's not coming in, that's to cool off. Be back. Okay, guys, I tried to get that bar coming out of the mold, but it cooled off just enough where it fell over. And you can see there it's 128 degrees C. So it's still plenty hot. You don't want to pick it up with your bare hands. And I put it in the water here, but it was a real letdown there. It cooled off enough it didn't foam and bubble or anything. But anyhow, both of them was in the water, cooling off. And I think it was a really good pour. It was a really safe pour. Didn't have any problems. All the tools worked the way they should work. Everything was protected. Had the leather apron, the leather boots, the leather glove, a little respirator. All the tools were just perfect. And getting them, excuse me, getting the aluminum out of the mold went just fine. I think all I'm lacking here now is maybe to weigh that bar and the little piece to see how much aluminum we actually got. And I think that's what we're going to do right now. Be back. Okay, guys, we got the scale zeroed and it's set on ounces. That's probably the best. That's the little piece right there. It was 1.6 ounces. This is the bar. It weighs 7 ounces. 6.8, and it changes there. And I turn the bar and it'll go back to 7. So I don't know why it does that, but it did. So it's a 7-ounce bar. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I wanted to do this safety video to show everybody how to do it right, to do it safely. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share, subscribe, come back again, give it a great comment. And stay safe and stay blessed, guys, and pray about things. God likes it when you do that, you know, and He'll keep you safe doing them. Thanks again for watching.